This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Coveil. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. My guest today is Evan Carmichael. Evan likes to help entrepreneurs. So I sure as hell hope he can help me, because I could use all the help. Well, I don't need all the help in the world. I've done pretty good, but I love to listen to smart people talk about subjects such as entrepreneurism. Evan's new book, Your One Word, you should definitely check it out. And if you're not yet an entrepreneur, what the hell are you waiting for? The time to go is right now. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Evan Carmichael. Take me back in time. I want to know the time, your time, the first dollar made as an entrepreneur. When was it?
5 years old. I took my 3-year-old little sister. We drew paintings. We painted some pictures and went door to door selling them to our neighbors. And I made 10 cents.
10 cents?
10 cents, man. That was a big deal when I was 5 years old. You know, I had a whole bunch of business ventures. The one that started to make me some cash was baseball cards. When I was, 11, 12, 13, I was the hustler selling cards. I would fly to spring training every year and follow the Blue Jays. Blue Jays were winning the World Series around that time. They were a hot commodity, and I would chase the players down outside their cars and get them to sign autographs. And they'd always do it for me because I'm the little kid versus the 40, 50-year-old, professional card sellers. And then I'd bring, hundreds of autographs back to Toronto and start selling them at a premium here.
But this wasn't just a motivation with baseball at the time. It's like, I'm a guy who played baseball into my first year in college. So this motivation with baseball, this wasn't just about making money. You obviously loved it as well.
Absolutely. I love the Blue Jays. I love baseball. The Jays were a big thing in the city at the time. Spring training was in Florida, and the local Floridians, didn't care so much about the Blue Jays, or at least nowhere near as much as we did here. To try to get some of the players in the parking lot in the stadium here it would never happen. It was an opportunity that I saw that combined my passion as well as a chance to make some money that I thought would be a fun thing to try.
How much money did you end up making in the card business? I mean, there's plenty of people out there that have made millions upon millions of dollars in the card business. How well did you do?
I wasn't in the millions. I was in the thousands. After you factor out the flight and everything going down there, it was much more like the challenge. Like I loved it. I love competing against 40 and 50-year-olds. I would still negotiate 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents over a card. Man, I'd be negotiating, going to flea markets and trade shows, and I would take the dollar that had the stains all over it and the coins you had to scrap mud off of. That's where I really cut my teeth. I don't think that I made any massive amount from doing that, but in terms of the skill set of being an entrepreneur, that's definitely where it comes from.
Okay, so you're a relatively young guy, teen kind of thing. So did you go to college?
I went to university. I went to University of Toronto. It was kind of drilled in by my parents that this is something that we need to do. There was some value there. I think more just the people and the connections. I had my 2 business partners that had a company out of the university there that we connected with, and that's how I started my first business, my first real business that ended up doing well.
From a college standpoint, though, I mean, you're making some jumps there from the average college kid, because at 22. You're all of a sudden now in venture capital. So connect these dots for me.
Sure. So 19, I'm in university, just doing my undergraduate in commerce, and I connect with these 2 entrepreneurs who started this business and needed help. It was a biotech software company. They were the scientists and wanted some help on the business side. I joined as an owner, And now, as an owner, I owned a good chunk of the company, but there wasn't much of a company. I'm making $300 a month. I'm not making bank really doing it. And I thought I wanted to be a venture capitalist or a merchant banker or something along those lines. And I got offers. I got opportunities to go Merrill Lynch. They fly me to New York and put me up in the Waldorf Astoria, and they want me to start at 80 to 100K starting salary. I have to weigh my options. Like, here's this dream job I thought I always wanted versus this $300 a month software company. And that was the tough decision I ever had to make in my life, and decided, you know what, I may not get that Merrill Lynch job again, but I could get another job. I can't live with not knowing. It may not work. My company may not work, but I can live with the failure. I can't live with not knowing. And so I gave myself a year to go out and do it. We turned the company around, started getting some sales. We sold to NASA, Johnson & Johnson, had customers in 30 countries. And in that 3-year window, ended up getting acquired. My partners moved to California as a part of the deal. They were the technical component of it. I stayed back and explored my curiosity, and venture capital was the next thing that I was curious about. I never had to raise financing for the business, but it was something that I was just curious about doing. And because I just sold this company, I was asked to do a bunch of speaking and all that stuff. And
now, was this at the year, 22, 23, 24, somewhere in there?
So I joined the company when I was 19. We sold when I was 22. And that's when 22 to 24 is when I was doing the VC stuff, mostly just learning. Wanting to understand how the industry worked. The 4 partners at the VC firm were all in their 60s or 70s, and were great mentors for me to kind of learn, how do you analyze a business, how do you dissect it, how do you raise capital, what do you look for? Because up until that point, I just had my own one company and baseball cards and some side hustle stuff.
Why did the biotech company want you? Why did those 2 guys want you? What did you show them that said, hey, we want this young guy involved right now? These are 2 serious guys. I assume you weren't a biotech expert. So what was the calling there? Why did they want you?
Yeah. Science was my worst subject in school. In high school, I dropped it as soon as I could, and I was not a programmer. I was the furthest thing from a programmer. They had started the company, and it wasn't going well. Like, they had a decent product, and he was posting to some of the forums and stuff, but they didn't want to do biz dev, right? They just wanted to. If you can give them access to just sit in front of a computer and code all day and not have to talk to the media and not have to talk to suppliers and not have to talk to distributors and all that stuff. That's their dream. And so them kind of being forced to do it and not having success made them eager for a person like me. Entrepreneurship was not on my thing, man. I wanted to be an investment banker. That was my calling, or at least I thought it was. And it was just an interesting opportunity. I think, I was maybe bored with my university classes, wasn't learning what I wanted to. This opportunity comes along. Let's test it out, see how it goes. It was fairly low risk. We're not talking, the company wasn't making a lot of money when we first started. And so equity was the way to get compensated.
But most people at this age don't have this flexibility. So why did you have this flexibility in your mind and your actions? I mean, most kids go to school and they sit there like a bump on the log, listening to a bunch of professors that have never made any money except working for the university. Yeah. And those kids will never take the chance to break away from that, but you did, and I want to know why.
I was equally frustrated. Like, I thought that the classes weren't amazing. I wasn't learning very much. I was kind of memorizing textbook. I guess I think most kids going through it probably feel the same way.
You pulled the trigger.
Yeah, it was. You know what? It was a part-time opportunity at the start. It was a genuine, like, instead of going to the debate team or the dance team, or I was involved in zero university life. Nobody knew me on campus. It was just my business part-time while doing my studies, as that was my extracurricular thing.
So you really didn't want to be in school. You kind of were knowing pretty quickly the direction you wanted to go.
I still wanted to be an investment banker, man. Merrill Lynch, that was my thing. I wanted to get that job. And then the business that I was involved with just started getting me more and more excited. Like, I like this. Like, I'm still not making any money, but I kind of like this. I'm curious. I see opportunity in here. Maybe it's the first time I had a business that had some real potential as opposed to all the other stuff I was kind of fumbling around with before. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't let it go, man. Michael, I just had to do it.
Well, let me jump ahead a little bit. So you've taken this early experience, you've had these successes, and is it fair to call you a coach?
Sure. Now, yeah. I mean, one of the things I do, I guess, I don't have a private practice where you can hire me, but I want to help other entrepreneurs.
But you made this pivot. Was YouTube your big pivot for getting this entrepreneurial expertise out to other people? Was that the real pivot to where all of a sudden people started to pay more and more attention to what you were doing and what you were saying?
It started with my website. That was before I did anything on YouTube. And the website was a home for content for entrepreneurs. After I sold my business, I just wanted to make it easier for other entrepreneurs to go through it and not have to face the pain and hardship that I did. And that naturally evolved to YouTube because I'm a visual person and I like making and consuming visual content. And YouTube may be what I'm most known for now. But I built an audience off of my website that then I was able to transition to YouTube.
Let's start this with some brass tacks so people can follow along. Your website went up in what year?
Oh, man, I have no idea, dude. You're killing me. No idea.
Come on.
So bad at
I know mine went up in October of 1996. I know you know.
You're the numbers guy, man. I'm so full. Like I can't remember my anniversary, dude. I'm so forward thinking and not like I don't do the analytics.
Then let's talk about the time frame or start to talk about getting traction. Look, everyone puts up their first website. And there's nobody. It's just you and a website. It's you putting content up, and it's the first reader and the second reader, and then the emails start to come in, and you start to have those interchanges. Talk about the growth and why was your website becoming so popular for entrepreneurs? Was it? I mean, obviously, a lot of it had to do with people could feel you within that URL. Correct?
Sure. So it started off as me just sharing where I was, because I got asked to do a whole bunch of speaking, being this kind of young entrepreneur, sells his business kind of thing. It was just a where I'm speaking deal. When I joined the venture capital firm, it was just putting out some content to try to help bring in more business, talking about raising capital for entrepreneurs, and putting out some stories about the famous entrepreneurs that I looked up to and respected. It was more of a hobby kind of side thing and maybe bring in some business for the VC firm. Then I realized that, hey, you could make some money off of advertising. You know, Google AdWords was the thing and AdSense the other side. Started producing more content, and then people started asking me to write, like, hey, I have some articles on investing. Can I write for you? And they naturally came to me. And then like, well, this could be a business. This could be its own beast. And we started up building content, both our own content. I started bringing on a team, started having other people write for the website. We built it up to have, you know, Donald Trump have articles on the website, and, you know, Jack Canfield and Zig Ziglar and all of those guys. So that started that process off. But I wish I could say, like, Michael, you know what? I had this all planned out. I had this great vision back in the day. It was really just following what I was excited about. YouTube was the same thing. At the start, I was just posting some content around famous entrepreneurs. I would say I started YouTube, I don't know, like 8 years ago. If you look at my first videos, people were also emailing me questions. And so instead of writing back a response, I'd make a video because I felt like I could do it faster than emailing. And if somebody else has that same question, they could learn from the video instead of that one-time email. It's just more leverage on my time. And it grew and it grew, and it slowly started picking up steam. And I think probably 2 years ago, I focused more on the YouTube side, where I said, okay, you know what, this is becoming a beast of its own.
Okay, now, hold on, but I know you know some of the numbers on YouTube off the top of your head. So where are you in terms of and views on YouTube, roughly?
Views, roughly, I'm in 4 to 5 million a month. Subscribers, were at 500,000 subscribers, about 1,000 new a day, 1,100 new a day, something like that. But again, like it's been a process. It doesn't just happen overnight.
No, of course. But at least it gives people a perspective that you're starting essentially with nothing except drive, and you keep doing it. I mean, I had a conversation the other day with someone, and there's just so many people, you know this, they start with, well, I can't do that, or someone else has already done that, or whatnot. And I'm going to talk about some of those limiting beliefs with you in a few minutes. But the excuses for so many people are right there at the tip of their tongue.
100%.
Yeah. Let's jump into where we are today, because now you've taken all this experience. And I remember the first time this happened to me. This is your first book, right?
Yes, this is the first book.
Yeah. Talk about the background. How did it come to be?
Sure. So I have an agent in New York, and his deal is basically booking me out on speaking gigs and in books and opportunities with brands. When we first joined, he was convinced I needed a book. I'm like, Steve, I don't want a book. I don't need a book. I can, you need a book to open doors, Evan. Like, no, I don't. I have an audience. I have YouTube, man. Like, I don't need a book.
5 million people a month on YouTube. I don't need a book.
I don't need a book. Right? It's not what it used to be. I don't need a book. And he's like, no, well, let's just go through the process anyway. And then he introduced me to a literary agent, and then we got some conversations going. And I didn't even know what kind of book I wanted to write. And then I got down to a topic that I thought, you know what? I love this as an idea for a topic for a book. And I think it lends itself better to a book than video. And both my agents hated it at the start. And they thought it was just a worksheet and not a book. We ended up pitching publishers. We had 5 meetings in 2 days and ended up going with Penguin Random House. I ended up writing 120,000 words, which is 2 books, basically. They wanted 60 to 70. I wrote 120. So we cut half the book out. So much for it just being a worksheet. Yeah, and so here we are. The book just recently launched. Excited to spread the message.
Let me read a little passage from you. I think this passage is really appropriate to get the audience in the headspace of how you think. Very positive. Believe that what you're doing is right. Follow your passion. Do it because you're meant to do it. Do it to do it, not just to make money. Believe that you can achieve it. Have the confidence to know that if you think you can achieve it, you can. Believe that it will happen. Have the conviction to follow through. Trust that if you see only darkness around you, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I believe in entrepreneurs. It's why I created this website. I believe in you. Make something remarkable happen. Believe. I'm one of these crazy guys that, I always love that kind of stuff. It just kind of wakes you up and you're like, okay, I get a little adrenaline shot. But sometimes it's hard to get people to believe that it really is just what you just said, which is to believe.
Yeah, I think people's environment sucks. I think I put it down to environment, man. I think it starts with self-awareness, like knowing what you want to do. The book is called Your One Word. So knowing what your one word is really an exercise in self-awareness. But once you find it, it's the environment. People may come across your podcast, Michael, and say, man, that Michael's amazing. Had this great idea. And they go off and they're working for the rest of the day, hustling hard. And then they wake up the next day and that drive and motivation is gone. Because their environment sucks, because their environment keeps pulling them back down to where they were before. And so you need to, whatever you have that big vision for yourself, whatever it is, like I want to be the most successful trader in the world. Okay, great. You need to start your day every day with resources, like read some of Michael's book or listen to the podcast or watch an interview or whatever it is to get you in that mindset that you can go and accomplish that big thing, because too often the next day you're going to wake up and everything's gone.
That's a great point about the mindset. You're really kind of taught the environment, especially. Talk about mentoring though, because I remember, and I've told this to people before, I think sometimes they think I'm crazy. There was a passage in Anthony Robbins' book, Unlimited Power. It was a story about Steven Spielberg going to the Universal lot to watch how films were made. And that was what always motivated me. I was like, well, hold on. If this is how it really works, meaning you just want to get close to the successful people, I change your environment, and then that changes everything. But that is not something that really is readily explained or taught in school.
100%. Michael, first off, you are crazy, bro, and love it. I love it. I'm crazy too. I love it. Yeah, mentorship is not brought up enough. I think one, especially as a young person, being able to reach out to people and say, listen, I'm a young entrepreneur. I'm a young trader. I'm really motivated. I'd love to pick your brain for 5 minutes. I had somebody email me to say, listen, even if it's just 2 minutes as you're walking to your car, I'd love to have a conversation and I'll bring you, a donut and a coffee with me. It's like, I want to meet that person. Like, I love that hustle.
People don't get that that's the way to do it. No one will ever say no to you if you say, can I meet you, walk you to your car? Can I bring you a donut? No one will say no. Now, you might have to ask a bunch of times. You might have to get more creative, but people ultimately don't say no if you're real, do they?
100%. People want to see here's the thing, for mentors, so many people are asking to be a mentee and they walk up and say, hey, will you be my mentor? And it's like walking up to a girl and asking her to marry you. Like, mentorship is a relationship. Nobody's going to commit to being your mentor without knowing you. What you want to do is ask for 5 to 10 minutes of somebody's time to ask a simple question. Whatever the most important question is for you right now, you're going to get an answer and then go home and do the work. Like, if you get the time to meet Michael and he gives you this amazing trading strategy, you better go home and work on it and do something about it and show some results. Either it didn't work for you or it did work for you. And if it didn't, like, come back and ask some questions as to why and get more fine tuning. But don't come back with the same question, right? Like, that's the biggest fear as a mentor, is that they give advice and it's not respected and nothing is acted upon. Go in and ask for 5 to 10 minutes, have one question in mind. Then you have permission to come back and ask a follow-up after you did the work. If you didn't do the work, don't show up again. I think that's the biggest fear for mentors. And if you could break through the clutter with your hustle, your drive, your ambition, your follow-through, then you can get access to a ton of people who can give you great information for your business.
Isn't it also, too, for approaching mentors, so many of them understand that most people that approach them in the way we're talking about aren't really telling the truth, meaning what they really don't just want the advice, they really don't just want the insight or even a relationship, they just want a job. And that mentor can see from a mile away the person that's just faking it, that just wants a job.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one more thought on mentorship. I'd also say don't be limited to people that you can actually have a conversation with. I've learned a ton from what I call aspirational mentors. Steve Jobs is my mentor. Walt Disney is my mentor. A.P. Giannini is my mentor. You could learn a ton from people who've done a lot more than you. This is where people say, well, like, I live in a small town. There's nobody for me to get mentored by. They all live in New York City or whatever. You could still learn from those people. Listen to these interviews that Michael does. He's had great people on board. Watch their videos, read their books. You can learn a lot from these people, even if you never meet them or if they've passed on.
Yeah, that just doubles down on the idea that there really is, especially in 2016 with YouTube and podcasts and books and you just name it, everything to say that you don't have access is just a contrived excuse. You've just convinced yourself, you want confirmation bias that you can't find a way. Well, then you're just going to keep finding a way to not get there,
100%. Like if this was 20 years ago, you wanted to be a trader, you might have to go to Wall Street and go find a company and learn. But like, how many episodes have you done, man? Like hundreds of episodes.
Yeah.
Just go back and listen to everything Michael has said and all the guests that he's had on board. You have the access. If you have a computer with internet, you have access to the knowledge.
Let's jump in. Let me shift gears on you. Your one word. What is the philosophy? Because I was thinking about it last night. I was like, God, okay, what's my one word? I'm not so sure I have one exactly, but I started jotting some down. Talk about your thought process here, your philosophy, your one word. What's behind this and how did it evolve? And what are you trying to really get people to do with this exercise of coming up with the one word?
Yeah, Michael, I think people are walking through life in a fog, man. I think most people are living in the mud where they feel like they could be doing a lot more with their life and they're not, and they don't know how to break free. A lot of people don't have the self-awareness to know what they're all about. And your one word is about finding the one thing that defines you, your one most important core value, and then using that to build a life and a business that best supports you. And we all have our own individual one word, one most important core value. And to find it, you think about, who were you 10 years ago? Who are you going to be in 10 years later? What are the common, what is still common for you? If I look at you, Michael, as an example, I don't know what you came up with as kind of potential words. I see somebody who wants answers. I see somebody who digs. I see an investigator. I see someone who doesn't listen to the system and wants things that work, and then also wants to try it out and prove it, not just sell some, idea, but have tested it himself and then pass that knowledge on. Is that fair?
Yeah, as I said, I was looking through this last night and thinking about it. I was like, it's the words like truth. Those kinds of words were coming to my mind. Like what really drives me, and when I wake up each day, whether if I happen to flip on a CNN or something, or I pick up the paper, I don't just read the headlines. I don't even read most of this stuff. I just look at it and I say, what's the angle? What's the slant? What's the agenda? What's someone pushing? What's selling? What's the truth? And that's what drives me, is what is the real truth. And I think so many people just walk through life just accepting whatever is thrown in front of them. They don't even believe or understand that there's an army of people behind those headlines that are engineering those headlines for other purposes other than the truth.
Right. And you want to spread the truth, not just understand it yourself. You want to spread it to the masses as well and get the message out there. And so there's a great example. So like, okay, Michael, let's say truth. That may not be it, but let's go with truth as an example. You have realized a little bit about yourself with that and then have built a career around it. And that's great. A lot of people never find it. Like if you love truth and you are put inside a corporation, you're put inside a box and say, Michael, this is how you do it. Don't ask questions. It's how we've always done it. Just keep doing it this way. You're gonna die in that situation. Don't put Michael in that situation. It's going to be the worst job ever. And that's what a lot of people end up doing. They end up working or living a life that is not consistent with what they believe to be most important in their life, and they don't know how to break the pattern and get out.
Again, you bring up the phrase environment, the word environment. I think it's so true because I felt like as a young guy in my mid to late 20s, I got exposed to very high level thinkers and very high level achievers. And once I saw that they put their pants on like everybody else, but they just thought differently, then I was able to relax. I was able to be like, okay, I don't have to follow the kind of things that I saw in my family and friends and the local job opportunities. I now know how the highest level thinks, and they're just regular people too, but they've got a better toolbox, a better way of managing information and managing a thought process. And that was what kind of enabled me to just be calm, comfortable, and not really worry about all the other stuff. And that allows you to better concentrate on what really matters.
100%. For me, a lot of it comes from the videos that I do, because we do top 10 videos on successful entrepreneurs and innovators and musicians and actors and basically people who are at the top of their game in whatever they do. And to do those videos, it's a lot of research, it's a lot of content, and basically we're surrounding ourselves with these people's ideas for a week in putting the content together. I remember driving up with my dad. We're going north. We're driving in the Jeep together, and I just done a deal with the CEO of a major company, Fortune 500 company, and we're doing a series together where we're equal, where I'm interviewing him, he's interviewing me, we're answering questions, I'm giving him advice on his business, he's giving me advice on mine. And my dad's like, where did you get the confidence to tell this CEO who has 15,000 employees what he should do in his business? And not out of genuine awe and respect, not like, you shouldn't do that, right? There's no judgment, just genuine curiosity. And like, you know what? It's from the videos, because I surround myself with Steve Jobs and Walt Disney and Oprah Winfrey and all these super high level people, and I see how they think and how they act. And now, like, the CEO is great, but is not anywhere close. I feel like I'm an equal. I just do, because the environment made me that.
Yeah, I relate to that a lot. I relate to that exactly what you're saying. Hey, let me bring it back to the one-word philosophy for a moment, though. Mm-hmm. Explain your thinking about why you want to see people have this one word, and perhaps throw out your one word and perhaps use some other well-known people and their one words. Talk about what's behind this.
What's behind it is I hate seeing people with untapped potential. I see people and I see what they're doing and know that they could be doing so much more if they just switched their focus or had somebody believe in them a little bit more. And so that's my one word, is believe. And so everything that I make is around believe somehow, through the books and videos and website and interviews and all that stuff. It's all about believe. I think it serves two purposes why you need to do it. First is for the clarity. First is so that you know what you need to now do in your life. As soon as you find out what your one word is, whether it's believe or truth or whatever it is, you start looking at your life and you say, what do I have in my life that is around truth? And that's great. And what's the opposite? Like, who are the people in my life that are not representing truth, or who are, maybe spreading lies, or who are not representative of what I want to see? And maybe that's in your job, maybe that's in your relationship, maybe that's in your family, maybe that's in your friends. And now you got to make a change. If you're all about truth, Michael, then you can't have guests on your show who aren't willing to tell the truth, who aren't willing to dig deeper and just keep talking at a high level without going further. That would kind of frustrate you and would frustrate the listeners. I think it's important for that self-awareness for yourself to now start living a path that makes sense.
It's funny you bring that up, because 500 episodes plus in,
500? You're a beast, man. I love it.
Not expecting to go this direction, but I could think back to probably the first 30 to 50 episodes when it was a very trading only podcast. And I probably made at least 2 to 3 mistakes with guests, meaning they never should have been on the podcast. Perhaps I let their resume sway me a little without doing some of the homework on them, and then only later did I learn certain things. And so now there is a built-in filter to your point. There's a built-in filter where I really do have to make sure that, there's no funny business. There's nothing that I have to be able to wrap my arms around it. If I can't wrap my arms around it, then it's anti-truth. And then I'm kind of like, then I just get a headache and I don't want to even talk to that person.
Yeah. 100. Michael, I can't tell you how many people write a book and they don't care about it. I've talked to so many authors who brand name authors who are like, yeah, whatever, another book. I got to do the whole promotional tour thing, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just kind of, like, they totally mailed it in on their book. It's so frustrating. Like, I put tons of love into this, and I had, big respect for some of these people, and to know that it's just another thing for them. They maybe didn't even write any of it, and they're not really that excited about it. That bothers me. And so
the readers can tell, though.
Yeah.
They can tell ultimately.
I agree, man. I agree. And people like you are helping spread the truth.
Let me jump in with a few more points on your book, though. I want to stay focused because some great points here that I jotted down. One thing I loved was you talking about 4 limiting beliefs. Number 1, too bold. Number 2, asking people what do they think. Number 3, someone else is doing it. Number 4, it's too simple. Wow, those just hit the sweet spot. I mean, I can't even imagine how many times I've heard people talk that way over the last 15, 20 years. They're just excuses.
100%, man. I think people are like, your biggest enemy is yourself. You're not where you are because of who the president is, right? That's not the reason why your bank account is the size it is, right? Like, you're where you are because of yourself, because you're blaming other people, or because you're holding yourself back. And so there'll be tons of times, like, maybe you listen to your show, you have this Nobel Prize winner on and sharing some big vision, and somebody listens to it is like, man, I want to go out and do something big. I love that. That interview was amazing. And then you wake up the next day and like, oh, you know what? That's too bold. Like, I can't do that. I didn't go to school for that. I don't have the money or the resources or connections to do that. And you fall back into the box and you stay at the life that you have, having the awareness of the limiting beliefs, and that you're consistently holding yourself back because of them will help you break through. And that's why we highlighted them in the book.
Evan, I've only got you for a few more minutes here, but I want to go into a couple more topics that I really like that you wrote about. Who is your enemy? Wow, this is not something in the touchy-feely PC society that you're supposed to talk about. You mean, hold on. To have entrepreneurial success, I must have an enemy. Well, I have to say that I've probably had a few over the years, not because I thought of them as people that I wanted to harm or whatever. Actually, my enemies I found were people that came at me because I had success. By their estimation, I'm assuming that they didn't think I deserved such success and that they could do a better job. And so therefore they became my enemy. And then I would have to respond in kind to their actions. But I guess that still fills the gap for what you're talking about. Is talk about the idea of having an enemy. How the hell is this beneficial as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, I think one, it can help you identify what it is that you stand for, what your one word is. Sometimes it's hard to think about the positive and you have to go negative. So if you think about the people that you hate in your life, like the people that you never want to see ever again, ever, terrible human being, what is it about them that you hate? That's going to be your anti-word, and the opposite is likely going to be your one word, what you stand for. The other thing, though, is that's a great point for people to think about, though, really, to ponder your enemies and the negatives there, and then go to the opposite as your possible good direction. It's a good exercise for getting to that one word. Yeah. Anybody who stands against truth, Michael's not going to be happy with. He's going to want to stand up.
But hold on, I don't want to sound like I'm some holy roller here. I mean, occasionally I've screwed up things, but overall, I hate the idea that the system is working to put untruths out there. So
absolutely, and then I think in terms of the marketing and building a movement for yourself and having people rally around your cause. Every good story has an enemy. Star Wars has Darth Vader. The New York Yankees has the Red Sox, right? Like everybody has an enemy in good storytelling. Their marketing and branding is about a story. What is the enemy of what you stand for? It doesn't have to be a person. It doesn't have to be, Jim Jones from whatever company. It could even just be a concept, right? So organizations or companies that spread misinformation, you're up against, right? Like having that label of the people who you're against, who you stand for. Like if you stand for something, you stand against something else, and that could be a galvanizing cause for the people who are following your movement.
Okay, let me ask the kind of a final type question. Why are so many people watching your videos? Dig in deep, brag if you have to. What have you tapped into? Because it's not just only your process. It's not just only that you've been doing it for years and building up and building and building and building, and you've got all kinds of techniques that I'm probably not aware of because I sure as hell don't have that many views on my YouTube channel. But what is it, do you think, that you've tapped into now after all these years of refining that people truly love about your videos? What is it?
It's back to my one word. People just want some belief in their lives. Honestly, like there's some tricks and whatever, all of that kind of helps a little bit, but it's the final 20%. The 80% is people. For a lot of people, I'm the only one in their life who believes in them, and I don't even know them. And when we talk about creating an environment for success, they wake up every day, they have a crappy environment, they turn on one of my videos, and that's what gives them the boost for the day. They just need more belief in their lives. And that's honestly the biggest reason that the channel's had the success that it has. Like, I'm not that great a speaker. I'm not great looking. I'm not buff. I don't know my numbers like Michael does. Like, everybody can do it. If you stand for something important, you can build a movement behind you.
I think when your website started, you just forgot.
Maybe. I really don't. I legit don't. I don't sell. My book came out. I didn't celebrate. Like, I care much more about the marriage than the wedding. I don't remember milestones. For me, it's a weakness too. Like, it's a strength as much as it's a weakness.
I have this the birth date thing is terrible for me, and I'm sure at several points in time I forgot my own birth date. So, Evan Carmichael, the book is Your One Word: The Powerful Secret to Creating a Business and Life That Matter. Cool stuff, Evan.
Thanks for the love, man. It's been amazing. I have a smile on my face the whole interview. It's great.
Well, hopefully we can talk again in the future. I'm sure there will, once you start this book process, guess what happens?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, number 2 is on the way soon. Where can we send everybody? Where's the best place for them to go besides Amazon?
Just my website, evancarmichael.com, or you can find me on YouTube, Twitter. Evan Carmichael is usually where I'm hanging out.
And if they can't find you, they should just stay in the office cube and give up.
That's so sad.
Hey, man, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for the love, man. It's awesome.
I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, Trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.